This is it. This is how it ends. I've let it overcome me. Depression, bulimia, smoking, drug abuse, people telling you how to live your life? Just fucking watch this. And you're probably gonna need this. Not for ew, cause you might cry. Heidi was born in Provo, Utah. She's the oldest of 6 kids in a Mormon family. Mormons are a religious group who are strongly focused on traditional family life and values. They are against consuming alcohol, tea, coffee, and a host of other things. Heidi was told from a young age what to look like, how to think, how to speak, how to breathe. She was forced into a corner and pigeonholed into one way of thinking. Interesting fact, Heidi was born with a condition called gastroschisis, which has a very low survival rate. The doctors Frankenstein her words, not mine, and left her with a 7-inch scar and no belly button. Her family loves music. Her dad, uncles, and aunts all play musical instruments. They would all get together and play for any event. Her parents' living room was a full-on studio with electronic drums and every instrument you can think of. Heidi had vocal lessons and was in choirs at a very young age. She learned how to use her vocal cords and classical singing techniques. She also learned how to play the piano. Heidi loved listening to bands on her Walkman while laying in bed, pretending she was the lead singer, envisioning her stage moves, and how it felt to have the crowd screaming her songs back to her. Heidi would also set her alarm to wake up really early and listen to the local radio station's morning show. She loved the banter between the DJs and thought it would be cool to do that herself. But her ultimate dream was to be a rock star. Hey, if you've already subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you haven't and you love fitness and metal, hit subscribe because we are all about that. Now, it was Korn who pulled Heidi into metal. Fun fact, Heidi would tell her parents that she was going out running and instead go to the skate park and hang out with all the metal kids. She borrowed a friend's Korn album and would sit in her closet at home listening to it. Her mom found her in the closet one day and broke the tape in front of Heidi's face, calling it devil music. Heidi's other groundbreaking metal influence was Slipknot. Heidi saw a kid at the skate park wearing a Slipknot shirt when she was about 12. It fascinated her, and when she heard Slipknot for the first time, it felt like the lyrics were ripped directly from her soul. With all these rules and restrictions, Heidi was an angry, rebellious little girl. She was also abused as a child and suppressed her feelings for many years because she had no one she could talk to. She would listen and pick out lyrics from metal songs and scribble them down on paper to get her anger out. Another big influence for Heidi was Gwen Stefani. Gwen's energy, stage presence, vocals, everything captivated Heidi. Thanks to Heidi's mom, her first concert was the Backstreet Boys. Heidi's dad was in the movie business, so Heidi was a child actor and did a lot of commercials and random acting. Fun fact, the first horror movie Heidi watched was in the 7th grade, The Old Scream with her dad. And when she'd get scared, her dad would mute it and say, "See, it's not so scary anymore without the sound." It helped Heidi realize how music really is our soundtrack to fear. Heidi's parents introduced her to track and field when she was around 7 years old, in the hopes of Heidi following in her dad's footsteps as a track star, who by the way was called Iron Man back in his days. Even though people told Heidi that she was too short to be a high jumper, her dad taught her how to float over the bar. Heidi worked her butt off, trained hard, and won state, eventually competing internationally in Junior Olympics. She won a scholarship to continue competing in college. In addition, when Heidi was cut out from the cheerleading tryouts in high school for being too tall, she trained and trained like a motherfucker till the next year where she made varsity. Sports dominated her childhood and paid for her college education. Fun fact, the metal kids would always come through the gates to cheer Heidi on. Metal has always made her feel like family. And between sports and writing metal lyrics, Heidi was able to get past most of her anger growing up. Heidi studied with a double major in broadcasting and advertising. Throughout college, her day started at 5 a.m. for her early morning radio show, then straight to class followed by track and field practice, then cheerleading practice, even sandwiching a job as a waitress sometimes. In sophomore year, Heidi took a step during pole vaulting that fucked up her back. That was the end of her competing career. Heidi had also developed a severe eating disorder. She was both anorexic and bulimic, which she believes was a contributing factor to the end of her athletic career. She started working at an alternative rock radio station and also got married at the age of 19 or 20, Mormon style at a temple, all the while thinking that this was just not right for her. But she was given no choice. She was forced to believe that if she went against the grain, she'd be left with nothing. No family, no friends, friends, no support. But finally, she had enough of people dictating her life and decided if she was to have one life, this was not going to be it. She got divorced and accepted a job for a morning show in LA, packed up her Honda Civic with no money, left everything behind, despite everyone telling her that she would fail. Her co-workers at the previous radio station were like, yeah, see you in 6 months. In fact, people in her old town still tell her siblings, don't end up like Heidi. What? Fun fact, Heidi was a finalist in the Big Brother show in 2007. And in the questionnaire when asked, as a child, what she wanted to be when she grew up and how was that working out for her, Heidi put down rock star. And although she opted for a radio DJ to play and host music, the dream to be a rock star never left her. During her radio career, she sang in a few bands here and there, but nothing really stuck. She even worked for Playboy Radio, not a playmate, a radio host. But when they brought out Topless Tuesday and pressured Heidi to perform the show topless, she quit. Like, you're on radio, what the fuck? Heidi hadn't even touched alcohol until she was 22. But when she moved to LA, she fell into some interesting crowd and got hooked on to cocaine. Hanging out with the likes of Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian, she then started going to raves and picked up ecstasy. It got so bad that at some point, she found herself in a room surrounded by drug addicts. There was light outside, but there were movie theater curtains in the room. There was a kid next to her who took a shot and passed out. Heidi thought that he had died. She looked around and couldn't believe what she'd allowed herself to become. She decided at that moment to give up ecstasy. But she was still on cocaine binges. And once, after she'd probably had an entire 8-ball to herself, she lay on bed, heart burning, terrified, thinking this was the end. She had let those substances overcome her. But it was really hard to leave. Her best friend's boyfriend was her drug dealer. It was easy to get drugs everywhere. A lot of people didn't know how bad Heidi's addiction was. And coupled with being anorexic and bulimic, she fell deeper and deeper into depression. She lost complete control over everything. Lost friends, boyfriends, and family. At this time, Heidi was in a punk rock cover band with 4 other girls. And when one of the girls were fired for heroin abuse, the band put an ad on MySpace. And the events that followed would completely change Heidi's life. Carla Harvey showed up to the audition in a Corvette. When she stepped out, black fringe and boots, Heidi thought that they were either going to be best friends or mortal enemies. Carla was hired, and there was an instant spark between her and Heidi, musically through their love of metal and dreams of rocking the giant stages worldwide. Carla had also worked as a Playboy host. She also, like Heidi, had left her old life behind to follow her dreams of being a rock star. Together, Heidi and Carla quit the band and decided to start something original, writing their own material. Heidi's boyfriend at the time, however, told her that she couldn't scream and she wouldn't make it. So Heidi decided to take lessons. She drove and screamed in her car for hours, figuring out how to get the exact scream that she wanted. She and Carla named their band Butcher Babies as a tribute to Wendy O. Williams, the queen of shock rock. Carla and Heidi put on nipple tape and channeled all their years of rage into their stage performances. Butcher Babies were unique. 2 women in a metal band, and when someone uploaded a video of them playing Pantera's Fucking Hostile in a club online, shit went viral. They received an insane amount of hate, accusations of using their sexuality for attention. Someone actually told Heidi to get cancer and die. Imagine listening to that as a 23-year-old trying to follow your dreams. But regardless of the shit they received online, their popularity grew, and so did their fan base. As the band took off and started gaining traction, Heidi's cocaine habit was presenting a problem. She couldn't just take some cocaine and sing correctly. That's when she opened up to Carla about her cocaine abuse, and Carla talked to her about how she overcame the habit. And eventually Heidi realized how this habit was ruining her beautiful dream, something she'd been dreaming her whole life. She quit the coke even before their first tour and hasn't touched it since. But this wasn't the end of her struggles. Heidi's anorexia and bulimia continued to plague her for 13 years of her life, damaging her health and vocal cords. She couldn't scream to the best of her ability, as her vocal cords were working overtime to constantly recover. She also continued to battle with depression. Heidi finally went to a doctor and started taking pills, eventually curing her of her depression. She found joy as she immersed herself in songwriting and performing with her band. Heidi also managed to pull herself out of bulimia, but then swapped it for another vice, smoking. Although she knew smoking was shit for her health, every time she quit, she would notice a drastic change in her singing and screaming voice, and that really scared her. But she knew that if the smoking continued, she would eventually damage her vocal cords, her voice, and ultimately her career. She kicked the habit after about 8 or 9 years with the help of her bandmates, who practiced with her 4 times a week for months, even though they didn't need to, until she felt her vocal cords strengthen and come back stronger than before. Even running on stage became so much easier. When Heidi was younger, she would just go up to the stage and scream. But as time went on and she got really serious about singing, she took DVD lessons from world-renowned vocal coach Melissa Cross, who taught her proper technique and saved her voice. Fun fact, at a concert in Barcelona, Heidi went to do a squat on stage and her pants split so far up her butt that she had to scramble off stage and put the show on hold, so she found a stage cloak to tie around her waist. As the band grew, Heidi realized that she was now a role model for young girls. She decided to live her life in a more positive way. She focused on strength training and building a more positive relationship with food. Despite the weight gain that she experienced when she quit smoking, she focused on improving her health so she could really perform at her best. The scale didn't matter anymore. In fact, she gained weight, built more muscle, and got strong as fuck. Look at that booty. Her mind got more at ease and positive. Her workouts helped her cope depression and anxiety. She even stopped drinking before shows and cut down on her usual alcohol consumption. Hungover brunch and mimosas turned to gym and protein shakes. Heidi is also a huge fan of hot yoga and meditation. Yoga is part of her daily routine, whether on or off tour, in any location that she can find. She's even hosted yoga classes on her social media platforms. Heidi still drinks wine and some alcohol, but she's in control of it. Doesn't smoke weed, but eats it. Her supplements include protein powder, pre-workout, essential amino acids, super greens blend, collagen, and glutamine. For a lot of bands who start off with substance abuse, it only gets worse as they grow bigger. But for Heidi and Carla, it's a different story. It's just not cool to be a druggie anymore. There's been a giant shift from sex, drugs, and rock and roll to gym, protein shakes, and, well, rock and roll. It's more respected to be a sober musician nowadays than to be a train wreck. As for Heidi to be strong on stage, to jump off boxes, she needed to kick a lot of bad habits. Every time she felt the need to binge and purge, she thought of the next show, the next rehearsal, the next recording, the strength that she had. It was not easy by any means, and it took years of learning to love herself. But she had a purpose and a reason to live, a dream. In athletics, Heidi was told that she was too short to be a high jumper. She placed 5th in the world. She was told she was too tall to be a cheerleader. Cheerleading ended up paying for her college. Her family told her that she would have nothing if she went against the norms of their religion. Most of her family helped her in the production of her music video, Yorktown. In fact, these two are her brothers, and this was shot in her dad's studio. Heidi was fired from a certain energy drink's televised motocross event by one of the producers who didn't want to show something that gross on TV, referring to her lack of a belly button. In fact, a teacher in junior high told Heidi's mom that Heidi would never be successful at anything. What a dick. But Heidi was like, fuck that, and she got great grades. People told her metal was no place for a woman. She never settled. In fact, all the hate that she receives has fueled her fire even more. One of her favorite quotes: "Opportunity looks like a hell of a lot of hard work." And even though literally everyone told Heidi that she would never do great things, she gave them all a giant fuck you. It all started with a dream. She even has a tattoo that says "Once Upon a Dream." The 11-year-old Heidi, dreaming of life on the big stage, navigated her in ways that an adult would find irrational and risky. But without risk, there is no reward. Even as an adult, she finds herself manifesting her own future by daydreaming. In turn, her mind finds ways to make those wishes a reality. Heidi credits her bandmates most of all for helping her get through the hardest times, always believing in her and giving her a purpose to live. Carla Harvey, her bandmate, has a really interesting story as well. Go check her out right here.
What's it like being a girl in the metal scene?
Like being a guy in a metal scene?
Why'd you ditch the nipple tape?
Your mom stole it.
Subscribe!